Recently, I read 2 books that made me think about the importance of consistent daily focus on growth and why it's so important. One was on multitasking and the other was on how the greatest performers become the best of the best of the best. If you're a person that desires to be one of those, the best of the best of the best, or a parent or coach of someone that desires this, then today's podcast may convince you what components are most important. And the most important component, consistent daily focus on growth. I'm Jungle Jim Hunter, and this is 831 Living Your Best Life, and we inspire participation, communicate precision, empower performers to podium, and we would ask you to tell your friends and relatives to go to their favorite podcast provider or to junglejimhunter.com and subscribe, download, click on like, rate, and review us, and become an 831er. We hope you'll join in becoming an 831er because you want to live your best life and, of course, help others live their best life. Studies show that multitasking produces weak performance, not better or best performance. At least that was the conclusion of this book, and I'm not sure that I have all the information yet, so I haven't drawn a final conclusion. It seems that we shift back and forth doing one thing at a time instead of actually multitasking. Each shift costs us time and energy, producing a lower quality of work. The book on multitasking was about business practices, and so I'm not convinced one way or the other on that, and if they have actually done enough research. However, what I do know is that an athlete learns to multitask until they do what they do by rote. Now, on this podcast, I've spoken about doing things by rote before. In other words, this means that they have the emotional and mental resources in the opportunity in front of them in a split second of time and the energy needed to do what needs to be done. We watch amazed, and I can think of a few other people, like a parent caring for little ones or trying to caretake a family, a speaker inspiring an audience, and, well, many other people that multitask. But what happens if you do something similar, but it's not exactly the same? In the second book I read, there was a chapter on Roger Federer, the greatest tennis player maybe ever, asked if he could switch to paddle tennis and what happens. The above-average paddle tennis player beat him every time, and vice versa. What they determined is what I teach my athletes. We do multitask, and it becomes unitasking because it all becomes one in a split second. We are emotionally trained, mentally focused, physically prepared, technically sound, and tactically making decisions in a split second. This is also not including adjusting for equipment, courses, facility conditions, crowd noise, cameras, distractions, and a few other things that I haven't included here. Excellence is unitasking, doing one thing totally focused, tuning out distractions with all you've got. This is what the best of the best of the best refine until it is done by rote. In other words, they have the resources in place in the opportunity and the time that they have and the energy to perform it automatically. They learn to get in the zone. They find a world of their own showing us how it's done. I learned this from my dad and understood it as a kid, and it carried me through my ski racing. Dad would go to the bins, choose the best seeds from the best of the best of the best bins to produce as many seeds as possible when he would seed a new crop. Every spring we would seed a new crop, and we would be reminded that the seed has all it needs. A human being, however, has choices and gets distracted by its senses. Instead of focusing on one thing, we look all over the place. We see others. We compare ourselves. We look at the conditions. We start to establish thoughts in our head and emotional reactions to fear and concern about whether we can do it. Balance is not multitasking, turning it into unitasking until it's as natural as your heart beating, breathing, walking, talking, and adding whatever else you can to the mix and still doing it effectively. An Olympic gold medalist strives to do on demand. In other words, he has to do it when he's asked to do it. So it's on demand in the right thing at the right time in the right place right now. Unitasking is excellence. You can be anything you prepare to become as long as you can carry all the tasks of what you are becoming. My quote for the day, the value of your readiness is becoming what needs to be done when called to do it. It's just that simple. The seed does one thing. It sacrifices itself, sends out roots in one direction to find what it needs, sends up shoots in the other direction up towards the sky and the warmth of the sun to carry the heads of seed when the time is ripe. In other words, at exactly the right time. No matter what any other plant does or what happens to it by things outside of its control, it adjusts to do what it does best: produce more seeds, and as many of them as it possibly can. Isn't that what you should be teaching yourself to do? You have the ability. Are you preparing it to the best of your ability? If you are doing what everyone else is doing and expecting a different result, how is that going to work? If you're not striving to do everything your giftedness demands at the level of the best in the world, how do you ever expect to play in their arena or on their stage? Living your best life isn't comparing yourself to those on your team or those doing the same thing you are. It's increasing the value of one thing you do better every day until you are the go-to person that can get it done. Most, as in 99% of the athletes I train, thought that all they needed was a tweak here or there, and then a break on the right team with the right coach at the right time. My dad used to say, "Son, you'll know that you are good enough to be an Olympic ski racer when someone who makes the decision to select you for the team comes looking for you and says they need you because of what you can do. Then, and only then, you are ready. Until then, you're not. So get back to work." I know, it sounds pretty harsh, but it's the truth. Thank you for listening. I hope that by next time, you will have grown.